Last week, former President Trump, as you know, was indicted on 37 counts for having classified documents apparently in some cardboard boxes that he took from the White House, like any other president has done in the past. Meanwhile, it was revealed that President Joe Biden, when he was vice president, engaged in multiple phone calls with a foreign interest that essentially bribed he and his son to the tune of $10 million in exchange for a foreign policy decision under the Obama presidency. And apparently those phone calls involving the bribe might be on tape. So what did the media focus on? Well, they focused over 300 minutes on the Trump story and that much time on the Biden story, at least the major networks. One question was asked of the president at a press conference by a New York Post reporter. Here's how that went.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Why did the Ukraine and FBI informant file refer to as big guy? Why is that term really applied? Thanks, guys.
Why'd you ask such a dumb question?
Why'd you ask such a dumb question? And apparently the rest of the mainstream media thinks it's dumb too, because, I mean, they have no curiosity about this scandal either. Well, our next guest, David Marcus, he actually thinks this is the only story that we should be focusing on. And David, I think you're right. I mean, last I checked, a president taking a bribe from a foreign country should be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer Joe Biden's question about, why would we ask that question? We asked that question because the term "the big guy" is all over this scandal, right? So the fact that we see it here again, every bit of this scandal is like a laser cut jigsaw puzzle piece, right? And what is the media doing? You mentioned 300 minutes on Trump, 0 minutes on this case. This is the Hunter Biden laptop playbook all over again. First, they say, we don't believe it. Not only do we not believe it, but we think it might be Russian disinformation, so it would be irresponsible for us to even mention it.
Yeah.
Then 2 years later, oh, you know what? Maybe it actually was his laptop. In fact, it was, but it's really not much of a big deal. They're trying to play this again, but it's not going to work this time because Republicans control the House of Representatives.
So do you think that it's reached now the point where it could very well be impeachable? I mean, you've got the crime of the bribery, you've got obstruction of justice because the Justice Department and the FBI have been ignoring it for, 5-6 years, and now you've got the cover-up because Christopher Wray sent that document, but he redacted the information about the recordings. I mean, that looks like a cover-up to me. It's all the hallmarks of an impeachable scandal.
I mean, it certainly isn't. And I mean, by the standards of Donald Trump's impeachment, I mean, anything. Wasn't that all we ever heard, right, during the Trump impeachments? Well, you can be impeached for anything. It's whatever Congress says it is, right? Yeah, I mean, there's obviously so much smoke here. I think we probably don't need impeachment right at this moment because we have these investigations that are ongoing. And it seems like once a week, Representative James Comer is coming out with new damning information about tens of millions of dollars that are going not just to Hunter, not just to Joe Biden's brother, but last month we learned 9 members of the Biden family. To do what?
Yeah. And David, I got to ask you, you mentioned the impeachments of Donald Trump. The first impeachment of Donald Trump had to do with his phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine, specifically about investigating Biden and bribes and Burisma. The FBI was sitting on this information the whole time. This is exculpatory what they knew about what they were impeaching Trump about.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely amazing and something that I think every American needs to think about, that the FBI was absolutely sitting on a document that showed that Donald Trump was not guilty of what he was being impeached for. Because everyone said at the time that if there was a legitimate national security interest for asking for that investigation, then there was no impeachable offense here. And we absolutely know that's true now. Now, listen, it wasn't the FBI that was impeaching Trump, but I'd like to ask Representative Dan Goldman, who at the time was the guy impeaching Trump and was the attorney for the Democrats, did he know about this?
Right.
Did he ask?
Yeah. David, we only got a minute left. You know journalists. You work with them. You hang out with them sometimes, even have a cigarette with them. At some point, their competitive nature kicks into high gear, right? At some point, one or two might start to stray and say, wait a minute, there is a story here, and I'm going to go after it.
Maybe. I'm not confident in this case. I think in this case, most of the mainstream media will not even acknowledge it until there's no way not to, right? Again, it's the Hunter laptop playbook. At a certain point, you just can't lie anymore. But you've played this long game and you've distracted people for long enough that when the bombshell drops, it doesn't feel like a bombshell.
Yeah. David Marcus, we'll keep watching it, but we'll keep reading what you're doing. Great stuff, as always. Your byline is electric. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
That's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, I will see you on the radio.